This is true.
Okay, so we are live, folks. Hello, hello. For those who are visiting us for the first time, I'm Joe Wesley saying hi to you, and Tommy gives a thumbs up twice around. For those of you who are new to us, first off, Tommy is noted to be a very good motivational public speaker, and I'm not recognizing it. Or rephrase it, I'll recognize it, but I'm challenging it. I'm challenging it because he believes that anybody who chooses to can be a confident public speaker. Me, being the shy introvert that I am, I think it's a genetic trait, and you're born with
Uh,
confidence or you're not. And it's kind of an oxymoron. I got to be confident to talk, but I got to talk to be confident. Yet to figure it out. So, with that background in place, we're having these spar sessions about my chasing him around the ring, trying to figure out what he's trying to talk about. That being said, for those of you who are seeing us for the first time live, we start a little bit early, like we've done today, to do some background chatter, some homework, you might say. For those who see us on the replay, enjoy it just as much. We do ask you share your comments. Now, for those who are seeing us maybe second or third time around or more, this is our 20... Here it
Ninth?
comes. 29th, 28th. Will be 29th next week. We're looking ahead already.
That's a half a year.
Absolutely, yes. And some of the things, we did this de novo. Neither of us, certainly myself, not had any experience in live stream and podcasting stuff. And so we decided not to rehearse it, not to do dry runs as today is. Let's guts it through. And as you become more proficient, you're going to, guys and ladies are going to say, boy, these guys are good. They must have been born that way. No, we had to work at it. And we share our mistakes. So I'm going to point at you, share a mistake with you guys now that I think I've been making. I have said you can comment. Please feel free to do so. But I have to give a certain permission from this end to allow it to happen. So if you've tried to make comments in the past and it didn't take, I do apologize for that. I think I've corrected it. So feel free to share your comments, your questions, and your input. The question for today is, Tommy always talks about rehearse, rehearse, rehearse as a technique of public speaking. And somehow when you rehearse it more, you'll feel more confident about it. Well, my question is, can you ever over practice? I've seen people walk in front of a room with a microphone and a podium, and you can see their eyes are rolling up in their forehead, the sweat's pouring down their face, they're talking in a forced manner for 2 hours without taking a breath, and you know, at least I know in my heart, that they have memorized a speech for that presentation, and they're going to get it out there. And I guess they've rehearsed it like 10,000 times, so they get it verbatim. But somehow I don't know if they quite connect with the audience on that, so I'm going to ask Tommy, his concept of practice, practice, practice makes perfect, but can it ever be too perfect?
Wow, that's it. All these things here going on. I wrote down 30 things. What do we got? 15 minutes?
15 minutes, right.
All right. So the question that you always bring up, and I wrote it down, is and it's a question for the audience that they could find their own answer to, which will be helpful to them. Is are you born with confidence or do you develop confidence? That's a great question. Something you look at yourself, just ask yourself, was I born with confidence or was there some time in my life where I developed it? Right? And that's a great way to look at it. I really believe that confidence becomes developed because we all jump into different aspects of our lives. We all do different things throughout our lives, and we have to build the confidence that goes along with it. You might be confident as a person, but if you've never done public speaking, you might be confident as a person, but then you have to be a confident public speaker.
Okay.
So I believe you develop that. Now, the other thing you were talking about is the old phrase is paralysis by analysis.
Whoa,
Right?
fancy phrase. The guy's got some jargon. And
Listen,
he's a poet and he knows it.
it's all stolen stuff. It's all been said before. I'm the Milton Berle of public speaking.
Fair
It's
enough.
nothing new here, and nobody knows who Milton Berle is anymore, but that's okay.
I remember my granddad talking about it.
He was a smart man. So, paralysis by analysis. Don't overthink it. Don't lock yourself up. Done is better than perfect. All this stuff that comes into play. That's a great lesson I've learned in life. You get to the point, done is better than perfect. And to take you with what you're saying about the lesson I learned about coming in and sounding robotic, that from minute 1 to 2, here's what I'm saying. From minute 2 to 3, here's what I'm saying. From minute 3 to 4, where it's just blocked off and, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's like no one in your audience has any idea what way it's going to be lined up. So if you do the 7 things you need to know about public speaking, and you realize you skipped over number 6, don't panic. Make it number 7. But it doesn't have to be, because no one knows. But with that being said, I like to look at it this way. The lesson I was taught is, and we can discuss this if you like a little bit, because I'd like to know your feeling on this. I'll actually give you something to do today.
All right. Instead of just trying to manage you is enough at the moment. But okay, you want something more on me?
So in other words, instead of memorizing something, save your speech to memory. Instead of memorizing it word for word, exactly, save it to memory, that here's where I'm supposed to say this, and do it as yourself.
All right.
Like, in other words, 7 bullet points. I'm going to talk about humor. So once you get to the point about humor, you know what you're going to say about humor. It's not going to be the same every time you go out, but you're going to be touching on the topic of humor. Then next time you go out, you're going to say, well, I want to talk about nonverbal skills today, smiling and gestures. So let's just say, for instance, when the word nonverbal skill comes out, it's not that you're going to memorize everything. You're going to say what you saved to memory about nonverbal skills. And it makes it freeing. It makes it easy. You touch upon the points that you just already know, that here's what I have in my memory about nonverbal skills, not here's how I memorized my speech.
Okay. Well, then what do you, when you say practice, what is it that one is practicing then, if not the speech itself?
Well, practice where you're going to be. You're going to line up your speech for 30 minutes. You practice it. You make sure it lasts 30 minutes, 28, 29 minutes, right? Giving yourself a few minutes to, because no matter what, I always look at it this way. Taking your presentation, a 30-minute presentation, I don't know about you, but from experience has taught me, once you get in front of a live audience, that 30-minute presentation can easily become 37, 38 minutes. You got to be careful, because things happen in live scenarios, in live situations, that take that 30 seconds, that 15 seconds, that 20 seconds. You think of something that maybe wasn't part of your presentation at that moment is fitting. So you use it. But that's how you become a trained professional, is knowing when and how to substitute or say something, because it's going to serve that particular audience.
Okay.
Right? So, yeah, you practice so you know what you're going to say, when you're going to say it, and you got the ideas in here. But going off course, I always tell everybody, the reason you practice is, in the beginning, keep practicing as much as you can. Because in the beginning, you're going to need to do that presentation as close to the way you practice it as possible. As you grow as a speaker, you'll be able to go off track because you know how to get back.
Okay.
The biggest challenge happens with people who don't know how to get back is now they start to ramble, right? And you've seen that happen, like all of a sudden the last 15 minutes of their speech is a complete ramble.
Yeah, every morning at 8 o'clock, I've kind of experienced that rambling syndrome. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
But the difference being is this is non-rehearsed and not practiced, and so there you go.
Fair enough. It kind of what you said almost kind of makes sense. When I was a senior in college, I had finished. I was a biology major, and I finished all of my requirements for my major. But I was only 12 credit hours that I had taken so far to finalize my credit requirement. But to be a full-time student, I had to have 15 hours. So I needed 3 more hours of a course as a senior in college. So I'm trying to think, first off, crap. And then secondly, what can I take that's not going to take me a lot of work necessarily? So I was not going to take archaeology or astronomy or something like that. So I think I'll take a 101 level course, a freshman level course, and I'll take public speaking, like How difficult could that be? You get up and you talk in front of people.
Nice.
But there was a structure to it. They started, certainly timing was a critical factor. At some point, you talk with the clock behind you. If you were more than 15 seconds off, you were penalized a grade for that particular talk session. That you start off with maybe a written paragraph, then down to bullet points at some point, and then maybe 1 or 2 overview points, kind of what you're saying now, Tommy. Anyway, I'm giving a talk toward the end of this semester, and I thought I practiced it pretty good. I had forgotten a point I was making, and at some point I was annoyed at myself while I'm talking because I realized I'd forgotten the point, but I did not stop at that part of my conversation or presentation. So then what I did say though, because I had my clock ticking, I says, going back to what I said earlier, let me make another point on that fact. And I'm hoping it would slide by. Well, it turns out each student at the end of each presentation would fill out a little card with commentary. So each of us got a commentary from all the other 18 students in the room, and you review them. Well, I sat down with mine, and people thought it was the most spontaneous, less stilted speech they'd heard the entire session. I was talking to the professor, actually going over the cards together. I said, I don't get it. I missed my point, but then I eventually got it later in life. They didn't know, as you said, they didn't know what I was going to say. And the fact that I could say something out of sequence, and I covered it, I thought, obviously pretty good, they felt it was even more spontaneous because it was like putting in a concept, a point that had not been previously made, but is certainly in sequence after the fact. And many people I speak with, when they're afraid of speaking, they're always afraid they'll look foolish, they'll look stupid, they'll look silly. And I keep saying, but you're the only person, and Tommy, you said this earlier in today's presentation, you're the only person that knows what you're going to say. To be blunt, you could pass gas. Somebody would take note because it must be significant. You made it happen. Excuse my crudeness, folks. But that really is my core belief. So is that kind of what you're saying of concept?
Are you saying passing gas is your core belief?
Well, no. Don't get confused now.
Well, that's how the phrase came out.
So he does listen to these folks, if nothing else.
I had no choice for the last 3 minutes, but thanks for killing time. It's about time you stepped up to the podium. 28 weeks later, you're finally opening up. Thank you, God.
Yeah, I got choked up a little bit here.
At the end of this 15 minutes, my throat is killing me from talking. I have to carry you through it. So the idea of it is, I like what you said, giving your speech as a human being. See, we get caught up sometimes when we see someone who's giving a dynamic speech, and the first thought that comes into our mind is, oh my God, I could never do that. So negativity kicks in, and I could never do that. I could never do that. I could never do that. No, you could never do that as them, but you could certainly do it as you. Mm-hmm. See, your best speech is your best speech. His best speech or her best speech is her best speech. There's different levels of everything. But if you stay at human being level, that is the greatest level you can say. One human being talking to another human being, delivering a message, nothing more, nothing less. You don't have to be anything else. And like I said to you, if people would put it in their head that it's just another conversation, because we have them all the time, that it's just another conversation, but I'm just having it with 500 people, boy, would that take pressure off you? Would that take your foot off your throat? It probably would. So that's the way I looked at it, is that it's not really talking to a big audience. It's having a conversation. So,
well, I hear that. But if it were that simple, then a lot of people do things like get stage fright and go in panics and get upset stomach and freeze. So it's got to be something more than just another personal conversation.
No, it's nothing more. It has nothing to do with the presentation. Has nothing to do with the presentation. Has nothing to do with the message. Has everything to do with the messenger. Okay. So no matter what, that same person who doesn't want to step up and do public speaking might not want to make dinner for the family because they're afraid they'll burn it. So whatever it might be, it comes down to the person, the being. So as I always say, if public speaking is something you want to do, the first thing you have to do is become the person who can do that. So that's where it all comes down. It really, building the messenger has to do with working on the being. Creating the message has to do with working on the doing.
I hear that. Now that brings up the other question, that are there little micro steps baby steps that one would take to kind of walk them away from that stage fright zone to it's just another conversation in front of a larger audience? Are 2 or 3 things you do to prepare yourself on a regular basis?
Oh, always, always. Literally, when it came to being an entertainer, I was thrust into it. I literally, I went and did it. I grew on the stage. I grew on the platform. I just went and did it. It was my first presentation dynamic. 6 months into learning magic, somebody asked me to do a magic show. I just stepped up and did it. I just did it. I did everything I knew, good, bad, or indifferent. I gave them everything I had.
Okay.
Was it my best performance ever? Hey, when I look back on it, it might have been, only for the fact that I delivered everything I knew. See, that's what happens to people. We're in the growth stage. We start out, we do it. So when I suggest Toastmasters, the reason I say that is, week after week after week, you make progress. You don't make perfection. You make progress. You learn how to stand. Somebody reminds you, like somebody said to you when you were done, you got an evaluation card that said, hey, wow, that was terrific, how you were so human-like. And so for you, that's the best thing anybody said, that you were like a human. That's just incredible. So
thanks a lot for that.
You're welcome. But that being said, it's progress week after week after week. Just go out and make progress. Learn from your mistakes. I'll share this with you. When I learned how to juggle, I love to share this because it makes the most sense in anybody's life.
All right.
So I knew I wanted to learn how to juggle. So I asked someone, a friend of mine, to show me how they juggle. So they handed me the 3 balls and they said, throw them on the floor. Right? So I threw them on the floor. They said, bend over and pick them up. I said, what do you mean bend over and pick them up? And he said, get used to that. You're going to do more of picking them up off the floor than you are going to be juggling for the first 3 or 4 weeks. So get used to picking them up off the floor, right? So that was the mindset, that if you're going to learn how to juggle, you better learn how to pick the balls off the floor. Same thing with public speaking. If you're going to learn how to do public speaking, progress over perfection. Just progress each time out. When you were saying baby steps,
right?
Improve something every time you go out along the way. Improvement will lead to what you want. There you go, Joe.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's enough to take us home on this, folks. I appreciate your input on that. Any questions, folks? Any comments, any critique, any acknowledgments, any insights? Please remember, even on the replay side, because we do audit your statements, share your comments, share your opinions. Sometimes people will connect off-site. I've got some people will comment to me, but they're not yet prepared to comment online. So we're getting there. We intend to do this every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. 8:15 will be our end point, plus or minus a few seconds. And we believe that give us 15, I'm going to paraphrase a commentary from a radio station, give us 15 minutes of your day. We'll give you a lifetime worth of experience and value for your business. Signing off, Joe Wesley. And Tommy is also.
I love our new tagline.
We're working at it. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day, folks. Have a good rest of the week.
Good job, Joe.